Hello, so I'm going to be talking to you guys about that time when Star Trek The Next Generation ran headfirst into a sexist trope and landed right on the wrong side of it. Okay, so this episode always bothered me because of the damage it was doing to the character of Geordi LaForge. I remember when I was 5 years old during The Next Generation's first season getting a Geordi LaForge action figure for Christmas. He was played by the guy from Reading Rainbow. And at that point, he was the blind man piloting the ship. I mean, that tickled my sense of irony, and even at that young age, that was something I was always drawn to as far as my sense of humor goes. So this episode damaged him professionally and personally. Yet the audience was expected to take his side throughout. So the season 4 episode, Galaxy's Child, starts with Captain Picard informing Geordi that an engineer from Utopia Planitia Shipyards, the person who designed the Enterprise D's warp drive, was coming aboard. Geordi's work had caught their attention. Geordi is ecstatic, not simply because this could potentially be huge for his career, but because the engineer in question, Dr. Leah Brahms, is effectively a romantic interest for Geordi. They have never met before or even spoken, but he has interacted with a holographic version of her since the season 3 episode Booby Trap, which was the year prior, where the computer created a version of her to help Geordi solve a mystery to save the Enterprise. Anyway, Brahms comes aboard and is less than thrilled to meet Geordi. Yes, his work caught her attention, but for all the wrong reasons. She doesn't understand why he felt certain modifications were necessary and why he's running things out of spec. It's almost like she's taking it as you're either incompetent or you think you're smarter than everybody else. But the episode plays it off as that she's selfish and doesn't want anybody modifying her stuff. She's definitely leaning towards the idea that this guy is an idiot, which is not a bad assumption. It's even addressed later in the episode, though we're not expected to see this as a bad reflection on him, but as a bad reflection on her for not giving him the benefit of the doubt from the start. Dr. Brahms says to him after she realizes these modifications are justified and quite ingenious in context, "You should write a paper on these modifications. The fleet deserves to know what you're doing to make things better." His response was, "Oh, I don't write papers." Okay. Well, this is a side tangent, but saying the application in the field is different than what the designers realize only goes so far if the feedback from the field never gets back to anyone. So shame on Geordi for keeping secrets and using the tired line of, "I don't like to do paperwork," which I've heard way too many times in my line of work, to justify not informing the powers that be of deviations from the norm. Okay, so the main point of this story is that Geordi LaForge is upset that Dr. Brahms is a bit of a hard ass. She's there to do a job, correct the deficiencies of a perceived jacked up chief engineer, and be on her way. But he keeps creeping on her based on having fallen in love with the computer representation of her, which showed her to be an extremely warm and loving person, something her real-life work persona definitely is not. Geordi, hoping to crack her icy exterior, invites her to dinner in his quarters. He implies it will be a working dinner to go over the agenda for the next day and to get on the same page of what they're hoping to accomplish. She shows up and Geordi has set up anything but a working dinner. He has the relaxing music, he's dressed like it's a date, he's commenting on her hair, he makes comments implying he knows way too much about her, and even tells her he's hoping they can be friends. Even more. Naturally, she thinks he's coming off as super weird. Like, really? And she splashes the cold water on him by saying, yeah, guy, I'm married. WTF. You seem to know everything else. Why don't you know that? The scene plays out like, poor Geordi. Brahms is such a B-word to him. But looking at it from her perspective, which is really the proper perspective we should be looking at it from, it's, who the hell is this guy? Why in the hell is he creeping on me? I don't even know him. He's creeping me out. This is followed up by a scene that actually does work. Probably the best scene in the episode. Geordi is wallowing in self-pity in 10 Forward, which is the ship's bar, wondering how the woman he's been fantasizing about for the past year doesn't want anything to do with him. Guinan asks him what's wrong, and he goes on about how Leah is so cold and callous. Not at all what the hologram of her is. Guinan explains to him he fell in love with a fantasy, and the fact he's judging her based on that is complete BS. So let's watch this scene right here.
How could it have been so far off? It was based on every piece of information on record about Leah Brown. Okay, with an admitted margin for error, but this is an error that's about a light year wide. Not what you hope for. Hope? Guinan, the woman is about as friendly as a Circassian plague cat. Only cares about her work, hates what I've done to her engines. And, to top it all off, she's married. Computer never even told me she was married. Computer glitch? Must have been. Maybe it was your old visor. What are you talking about? Well, the one you wore when you were on the holodeck with her. Dad, it's the same visor. Really? Well, I figured it was probably the one that lets you see what you want to see. What's that supposed to mean? You saw exactly what you wanted to see on the holodeck. Sure, the computer made it look like her, gave it personality. But when it came to the relationship, LaForge, you filled in the blanks. And you had a perfectly wonderful, marvelous little fantasy. Until the real Leia showed up and ruined it. Now, she's probably done the most horrific thing one person can do to another. Not live up to your expectations. So I'd take a good, long, hard look at her, LaForge. See her for who she is. Not for what you want her to be.
So I've personally been on both sides of this issue, really falling for someone while having projected my fantasies onto them, and then wondering why in the hell they're not this person I created in my mind. And also being grossly annoyed at other people for building me up in their own head. It's really not fair to that person getting angry and being bitter towards them for not responding to you the way they respond to you in your fantasies. And the worst, when the person creating the fantasy plays the victim, like Geordi has. Guinan's commentary is good, but it ends up getting lost in the rest of the episode. Then, the infamous scene happens, the one that really aged this episode like warm milk. It had the chance to make or break this episode, and it completely broke it. The scene where Dr. Brahms walks in on Geordi's fantasy of her. Let's watch this scene here.
Ensign, would there be any other files with data on the original engine specifications?
I believe so, Doctor.
This file utilizes the prototype engine schematic.
It's a holographic program set in the drafting room at Utopia Planitia.
I'll run it on holodeck 3. Computer, replay program 9140. Engine schematic at Utopia Planitia.
Program loaded and ready.
She went where?
Holodeck 3, sir. I didn't think there was anything wrong with her seeing the file.
No, of course not. Nothing at all.
I'm with you every day, Geordi. Every time you look at this engine, you're looking at me. Every time you touch it, it's me.
Computer freeze program.
Now, I understand.
No, you don't. It's not the way this may look.
I called up a replay of the program file. I was all ready to compliment you again, Commander, for constructing a program which contained the prototype engine, so that you would always have a baseline reference for your modifications. And now I find that it's all about a fantasy plaything.
It's not like that. I swear.
I'm outraged by this. I have been invaded, violated. How dare you use me like this? How far did it go anyway? Was it good for you?
Nothing like that happened. It was a professional collaboration.
Oh, I can tell. Every time you're touching the engine, you're touching me, real professional.
Look, if you watched the whole program, you saw what it was. We were working together to solve a problem in a crisis situation.
How do I know how far it went? How many other programs did you create? Perhaps dozens of them, one for every day of the week, one for every mood.
All right, look. Ever since you came on board, you've been badgering me. And I've taken it. I've shown you courtesy and respect and a hell of a lot of patience. Oh, no, wait a minute. I've tried to understand you. I've tried to get along with you. And in return, you accused, tried, and convicted me without even bothering to hear my side of it. So I'm guilty, okay? But not of what you think. Of something much worse. I'm guilty of reaching out to you. Of hoping we could connect. I'm guilty of a terrible crime, Doctor. I offered you friendship.
It's extremely unfortunate the scene played out with Geordi getting upset in a fit of incel rage. I was nice to you and you didn't respond to me. What would have saved the scene was if Geordi, having realized Brahms found out about his holodeck fantasy he fell for, took the embarrassing situation, ate the humble pie, and explained in a modest tone that she was misinterpreting what she was seeing and what the actual situation was with that holodeck program. That he ended up working alongside the holographic version of her to help him in a tight spot. And he really felt like he got to know her doing that. Given his behavior throughout the episode, the holodeck program was the missing puzzle piece to prove Geordi had anything but innocent intentions towards her. And getting on his high horse and pretending he was the one victimized was truly disgusting. Geordi went full incel. I was nice to you. You owe me. That doesn't sit well with me at all. And the audience was primed to take LaForge's side of the argument. The sexist trope this episode botched was the idea that if you're nice to a woman, she owes you something. You know, the whole, women just don't like nice guys. Well, oftentimes those nice guys tend to just come off as creepy. And besides, if you think someone is obligated to date you simply because you are nice, are you really that nice? Please like and subscribe. Thank you.